Picture this. It's a chilly morning in 1950s Britain. The steam rises from a kettle as the smell of freshly brewed tea fills the air. A comfort amid the lingering memories of rationing and rebuilding. The kitchen is modest, yet warm with the hum of everyday life. But, as you flick through the newspapers, something catches your eye. Advertisements that would make today's audience gasp in disbelief. From cigarette brands boasting that doctors preferred their product to infant formula, ads suggesting it's better than mother's milk. These were the norm. Back then, there were no consumer rights groups, no stringent regulations, and certainly no public outcry. What was seen as perfectly acceptable then would be considered outrageous, even scandalous. Today, you won't believe what they once advertised. Openly, to understand why these bizarre adverts flourished, you have to step back into the mindset of 1950s Britain. The war was finally over, and the country was hungry for optimism, desperate, even, to believe in a brighter, more modern world. Consumer goods were returning to the shelves, supermarkets were beginning to appear, and families were discovering the thrill of buying rather than simply making do. With this new appetite came a booming advertising industry, eager to shape the desires of a recovering nation. But there was something else at play. Almost no rules. The modern idea of advertising standards simply didn't exist. If a company wanted to claim its cigarettes were recommended by doctors, or that its petrol could somehow make your lungs feel cleaner, no one stood in the way. Add to this the dominance of radio, the arrival of television, and catchy jingles that lodged themselves in people's minds, and brands suddenly had enormous power. Trust in authority was high, and if a man in a lab coat said something was safe, most people believed him. It was the perfect storm for advertising to go wild, and it did. What makes these old adverts so astonishing isn't just what they said, it's how confidently they said it. Take cigarette ads, for instance. In the 1950s, you could open a magazine and see a smiling doctor, stethoscope around his neck, recommending a smoother, healthier brand of cigarette. The message was simple. If the man in the white coat approved, it must be good for you. Today, that kind of advert would trigger lawsuits, protests, and an entire Public Health England campaign before lunchtime. Then came the infant formula adverts, encouraging mothers to give their newborns sweetened milk. The tone was gentle, reassuring, almost maternal. Give your baby the modern start. Back then, it sounded like progress. Today, the idea of feeding sugar-rich formulas to a newborn is unthinkable, and every health authority would shut it down instantly. Household cleaner ads were no less shocking. With lines like "a clean home keeps a happy husband," the message wasn't subtle. These adverts painted an image of domestic life where women scrubbed, smiled, and served, and brands leaned into it with gusto. It's hard to imagine any company surviving that kind of messaging today. Then there were the tinned food ads showing perfectly groomed families sitting around immaculate dining tables. Dinner looked more like a staged theatre performance than a real meal. The promise, convenience, and perfection, as long as you bought the right tin. And finally, toothpaste brands in the 50s claimed to cure everything from bad breath to sore gums to general fatigue, almost magical in their promises. Today's strict regulations would tear those claims apart. These early ads remind us just how far marketing and society has come. As we continue to uncover the wild world of 1950s adverts, the next batch will truly test your disbelief. One of the most outrageous campaigns of the era was for sugary cereals marketed as essential breakfast nutrition for children. The ads depicted children as energetic, happy little souls, bouncing through their day after a hearty bowl of sugar-loaded cereal. The message? It was not just a treat. It was vital for healthy growth. Of course, today we know that a breakfast full of sugar is far from essential. But back then, it was sold as the key to a good start. No health warnings, no mention of sugar content, just a bright, smiling child and a promise of boundless energy. And then there were the alcohol ads, which took things even further. Marketing brands like whiskey and beer as medicinal refreshment. Picture it, the doctor's approval stamped on a bottle of your favorite drink, as though a pint could cure your stress or a shot could ward off the common cold. It's almost laughable today, but back then it seemed perfectly reasonable. Medical professionals, shown in white coats, would even endorse these beverages as beneficial for health, all wrapped in a reassuring, authoritative tone. Equally shocking were soap ads that implied darker skin was something to correct. Many soap brands peddled the idea that their product could brighten your complexion. The blatant racism embedded in this message is chilling by today's standards. It wasn't just about cleanliness, it was about conforming to a certain skin tone ideal, one that favored pale, white skin. Petrol ads were no better. One even promised cleaner lungs if you used their new fuel additives. The idea that petrol could somehow improve your lung health is beyond absurd, yet this was standard practice. Finally, appliance ads used fear tactics to push their products. Don't be the only wife on the street without a modern cooker. The implication? Your worth as a wife and homemaker was tied to keeping up with the latest domestic technology. These ads were not only about selling products, but shaping attitudes towards health, race, and gender, setting the stage for the battles we still fight today. Looking back at these adverts, it's easy to laugh. The bold claims, the strange assumptions, the utter lack of caution. But beneath the humor lies something far more human. These ads reveal a country trying to move forward after years of sacrifice. People trusted authority because authority had guided them through the darkest of times. If a doctor endorsed a product or a brand promised a better life, it felt believable. Hope was a precious thing, and many were eager to grasp it. It was a Britain of coal fires crackling in small living rooms, corner shops where the owner knew your name, and bakelite radios humming quietly in the background. Families were discovering modern appliances, pre-packaged foods, and the thrill of convenience for the first time. Each new product felt like a step into a brighter future, something that might make life just a little easier. These adverts weren't just sales pitches, they were reflections of a society longing for comfort and progress. Even the wildest claims spoke to a nation eager to believe that modernity held all the answers. And that desire shaped the world our parents and grandparents lived in. Today, it's almost impossible to imagine adverts making the claims we've just explored. Modern Britain is shaped by strict regulations, consumer watchdogs, and a society far more aware of health, gender equality, safety, and truth. We question authority now, and companies tread carefully, knowing every word will be scrutinized. Yet, there's a strange fondness in looking back at those wild 1950s ads. Outrageous as they seem, they're part of our cultural story, relics of a nation learning, hoping, and embracing change. They remind us how far we've come, and how every era leaves its own curious footprint behind.